Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. I see Caterpillar is in the building. Hey, Cater, what's up? It's so good to see you. Got another good show lined up for y'all. I'm gonna jump into this little bonus clip I wanted to talk about since Cat is here early. This for the early adopters, the kids that show up to class on time. All right, so listen to this fool talking about Ariana Grande.
Was religion?
Why they keep muting it?
That people feel about God.
Was religion a part of your life growing
It
up?
was, yeah. I went to Catholic schools, went to Catholic church. I did the Sunday church thing, and I think it was the Pope at the time was like totally homophobic and totally not a fan of women at all. Or like also like SpongeBob or Harry Potter, and I was like, nah, this, I can't do this.
Not for me.
I was like, I'm out, guys. I can't do this.
out.
I just feel like
Gotta
I'm
go.
not a very religious person. So I became more spiritual, and here I am.
Now, what's
Perfectly normal, right? Like, yeah, I did the Catholic school thing. Yeah, I went to church on Sunday. Like, yeah, and they were kind of against a lot of things. Didn't really mesh well with me. So, and she did the whole typical like. So I'm spiritual, and here I am. A lot of people do with the spirituality thing. I don't know what that is. I really do think it's very difficult for people to get away from the indoctrination that faith is a virtue, right? And so even though they kind of distance themselves from the Christian church without any real exploration of why even value this faithfulness or whatever, they kind of just jump onto the generic spirituality bandwagon. And I have no real interest in that, but it is like a perfectly normal thing to say. And I think that that's kind of what's interesting about this. Yes, Ariana Grande is a huge pop star. She's one of the most famous people in the world. But at the same time, like, her response to this question is actually just very normal. It's just very typical of what a lot of people, and especially America, experience. I see Nezadov is in the house, and I see Trees here. What's up, Trees? I see Logan. Good to see all y'all. All right, so appreciate it, Kata.
What's so sad about this to me is that there's a huge swath of people who are rejecting what they think is Christianity based on the failures of people, but
All right, so he says it was so disappointing to him is there's this huge swath of people and they're rejecting what they think is Christianity because of the failures of people. And this is the cope. This is the Christian coping. Like, first off, like Uncle Bobby says, the gospel message is really not that hard. Like, it's really not that complicated. We all know it. God created us, but we were wicked because Adam and Eve sinned. Okay, he destroyed the whole planet except Noah and the ark. Okay, they got busy repopulating the earth. God was like, man, I'm never going to destroy the earth again by water, but the next time by fire. So eventually he sends his son Jesus. Jesus is born to a virgin. Okay, he recruits 12 homies. He walks on water. He heals the sick. He casts demons in the pigs. Okay, he and eventually runs into trouble with the Romans. Julius Caesar. I'm sorry, not Julius. Listen to me. Punches Pilate, who sounds like a very cruel person. Of course, like, I really can't find no fault with this man. Whatever. The Jews, the Sanhedrin, they're all like, no, you crucify him. So Pontius Pilate's like, I got no choice. I guess I'll just listen to these religious authorities. I guess I'll just let these religious authorities dictate what I do as a civil procurator. That doesn't happen in real life. So he crucifies Jesus. Jesus, says to the one dude on his one side, you're kind of screwed. Says to the other dude on his other side, don't worry, you'll be with me, in Nirvana later, whatever. So he dies. Joseph of Arimathea. Wait, first they stick the pole in him. Right? They stick the pole in the blood and the vinegar come out. That doesn't happen. And then he died. So Joseph of Arimathea comes, lays him in the tomb. 3 days later, some ladies come. They're gonna put spices on his body, make sure the corpse is smelling all fresh for corpse time. Okay, and he's gone. He's gone. And the cherubim and the guard tell them not to tell anyone. But somehow we got the Gospels because they told anybody. Did I get that? Did I get any of that wrong? This is the most well-known story on the planet. It just isn't very good. It isn't very convincing. And there's really no evidence or reason to support that it is any way, shape, or form remotely even true. That's the problem. And so it bothers me so much when people are like, what they think is, bro, what part of Christianity do you really think we don't understand? People understand Christianity. Okay, so he blames it on people and what else? This is just a short, y'all. This is just a little preview. We just getting into it. This is our little aperitif. This is a little appetizer. Get my vocal cords warmed up for the main event.
They don't actually ever know the gospel. They haven't examined the case for Christ.
This is what I'm talking about.
They've never been born again.
They don't know the gospel. They've never examined the case for Christ. And they've never been born again. Like, it's just so terrible that you can't accept somebody's story and then deal with their story as they told it to you. It's always got to be the failure of the human beings, and you didn't really understand the true gospel, and you never had a transformed heart, and all this type of stuff. Okay, so that type of denying other people's lived experience just to cope is really disturbing, and it bothers me. But what further bothers me is I'm going to hit him with the Michael Behe question, bro. And whose fault is that? Right? Like Michael Behe got up in that debate when we was debating. He's talking about, oh, the judge was against me and they went with the other side and they did what the other side told them and they didn't listen to me. Whose fault is that? What am I getting at, y'all? She says she went to Catholic school. Now, there are some Catholic schools, I really call them parochial schools. They're like private schools with either like Catholic traditions, like they used to be serious about Catholicism, or Catholic names, okay? But a lot of Catholic schools, like the one I went to, like Jesuit schools that's really about that life, theology is a part of the fucking curriculum. You literally have theology multiple days a week for multiple years, just like you do reading, writing, arithmetic, biology. It's just a regular class. So whose fault is it if people are going to Catholic school and they leave in Catholic school, but they don't believe in Christianity? Whose fault is that? You literally have them as a captive audience. You force them to learn your theology. Sounds like a you problem. Sounds like an education problem. So that just bothers me that they don't acknowledge that. First of all, we've learned it. A lot of people have studied it, and we're just not buying it, bro. It's just not there. And then honestly, I feel this way about them. Like when they get started with the you never got saved and Jesus never turned your heart around. I'm finna hit them like, bro, do you really know what's in the Bible? Bro, have you read the Bible? Because a bunch of y'all running here talking about faith, hope, and love everybody. You're talking about a bunch of stuff that's not very biblical at all. It's not how Jesus really was in the Bible. Certainly not how God is really depicted in the Bible. So do you really want to go there? So anyway, y'all, that's just a little cope. That's just a little short. You know, Ariana Grande is a big celebrity. We do a little celebrity gossip. So we jumped in there. Appreciate y'all. Cameron's here. Nitty's here. Tsunami Mommy is here. Boom. See, I got it right. And now somebody gonna be like, no, Jay, Tsunami, you got it wrong. No, you don't know. You ain't even sit down. Just sit down. Just save the comment. It's an inside thing. Tsunami Mommy knows what I'm talking about. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into the main event of the evening. Y'all, I really wanted to talk to y'all about Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan has been in the news, in the media, and as a wrestling fan, I just feel the need to just shit all over Hulk Hogan because he's a conservative asshole. And so we may do that later, or that may be next time, because something else popped up on my feed, and I didn't even watch. I was like, no, we're gonna have to talk about this on stream. This shit is so crazy. We gonna have to change today's plans. We're gonna have to rearrange the production schedule, and we're gonna have to talk about this. Okay? So it's called We Need to Talk About Daddy God Christianity. Now, this channel is the Anti-Bot. For those that don't know who the Anti-Bot is, you may know Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic. The Anti-Bot is his partner's channel. Okay? That's a YouTube house. Okay? YouTube pay all the bills in that house. Okay? Okay. Honey, are you done with this? Honey, are you done with this? Honey, are you done with the studio? I got deadlines to meet. I got to get some shit to my editor. Honey, are you done with the studio? Look, they working it out. They doing their own version of Paul and Shannon, okay? Shout out to all the deconversion YouTube couples. I'm happy that y'all have successfully found not religion and each other. Congratulations. We're all, trust me, we're all very jealous. We're all literally looking for this. Literally help me. Y'all know how hard it is to find somebody that really is willing to get down with atheists the way we really atheists, and a YouTuber. You understand what I'm saying? Most people fuck with you on one but not the other. Okay? You an atheist? Oh Lord, how am I ever gonna explain to my mother? I don't know if this is gonna work. You're a really great person though. I'm gonna try to do this thing. You say you're an atheist, it's okay. You're a good person, you got a good heart. We gonna make. What'd you say? You got a YouTube channel? No. Nope, I'm out. Nope, I'm done. Cancel the show. Nah, for real, yo. Sometimes the YouTube thing is harder than the atheist thing for people. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Like, so look, congratulations, they found both. But look, let's talk about this whole daddy Christianity thing because it is sure enough weird.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and this is my husband Drew. And on this channel, we talk about life and relationships after leaving the church.
Oh, wait, hang on, y'all. Sumami, don't look at this. I'm stuck at a Kamala campaign training thing, but I'm here in spirit. I love that. I love that. We done become all the way coconut pilled over here, Sumami. You go ahead. You're doing the work of the people. Serving the people, serving the community.
Do some commentary on the goings on in evangelical Christianity. So I follow a lot of the Christian girlies on social media. Yeah. And recently I've seen their content take a bit of a turn and it's gotten a little bit weird.
Okay.
That's weird.
Oh, yeah. That's,
y'all, come on. What Christians, what are we doing?
A bit of a turn.
It's
gotten a little bit weird.
What is this?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all hit it with the question of the day. Hit it with the question of the day, y'all. Y'all, is that weird? I'm sorry, but I'm just sometimes weird is just a feel thing, okay? Weird is a vibe. Just be honest about it. Weird is a vibe. We don't have like really an empirical standard for weird. Sometimes you're just clearly on one side of the spectrum. Like Oh, what'd you say? You had a turkey sandwich for lunch today? Nope, that's not weird at all. What'd you say? You have a cat and a dog and 2 kids? Yep, nope, nothing weird about that. Nothing weird about that. Okay, you're out yelling at the sky, calling Abba Father. Yep, nope, that's weird. Nope, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where the threshold is. I don't really know where you crossed over. I don't know exactly which was the exact moment, but that is weird. That is clearly on the weird side of things, y'all. All right, AR says 1,000% yes. Okay. Now, here's the little trick to this, though. Here's the little trick to this. It's weird, but if you think about what most Christians say and what Christianity is supposed to be about, it ain't really supposed to be that weird. Is it really? Right? They all really do refer to God as their Father in heaven, like the ultimate Father, like they truly supposed to be in a relationship with him. They talk about how he's better than any earthly father and all that, you know, and they all of them pray to God, and praying to God is essentially just calling out to God and talking to the sky. So if you're like most of us, if you're on the secular side of things, you could just say it's all weird. I don't talk to the sky in any way, form, or fashion. I don't even participate in prayer when other people are praying around me. Like, none of that. I don't do sky talk. But I would say for the Christians that are out there, because I know so many Christians they just finished Bible study and they're just running home to watch my show. So to all the Christians in the audience, if this looks weird to you, think about your actual prayer life and the things that you say and do as a Christian, and is it really that weird? Because it's weird to us, but if you talking to God on a nightly, if you really on your prayer closet, if you really get on your knees at that bedside and say your prayers before you go to bed like I used to as a child, oh no, don't be like my grandparents, y'all. Don't be like my grandparents. My grandfather be like this. He turned on the car, checked the mirror. Oh, we about to back up. Oh no, oh my goodness, we haven't prayed for traveling mercies. Dear Lord, let me just pray to you right now. Right? They want to pray for traveling mercies before they even back that car out the driveway. Then they want to thank God for traveling mercies once they pull the car back in the driveway. So how weird is this really, y'all?
That's I would call that kind of weird. Yeah.
I think that there's a little bit more to this. I think it's more than just weird. I think that we're seeing an entire trend emerging in this Christian girly online space.
Okay. Hang on. So Nitty, we got some great stuff in chat, of course. So Nitty said, I wasn't weird when I was a Christian in private. In public, yelling around like this, weird as fuck. But see, that's what I'm saying. Nitty's like, where's the line? Because y'all get together and they'll sing songs and do the worship hymns, and Christianity is weird overall. But yeah, it's very weird what we're comfortable with. So this is generally a thing with religion, is that the things that we do as part of our religious practice are probably very strange to people from outside of our culture. But you kind of get desensitized to it, seeing it all the time. So it's just always interesting how, you know, what other people do is taken as weird. And honestly, sometimes it's just cultural differences, like I said, but sometimes it gets to be insulting. Like sometimes you hear Christians talk about certain denominations, certain charismatics, and there's like a tinge of racism in there. Yeah, all right, cool. So it's like the opposite. It's not weird in private to them. It's weird to act so out of context in front of non-Christians. Yes, see, I do think that's a lot of it. A lot of it is like letting the rest of the world see them. And I think that happens because of social media, right? Like a lot of this stuff, if you're just 4 Christians walking in the woods, you know, and y'all start talking about the beauty of God surrounding you, and oh, shouldn't we just cry out Abba Father because we're so overwhelmed? Y'all probably just a bunch of weirdos in the woods. You know what I'm saying? But since y'all are weirdos in the woods under 30, you're gonna put it all over social media. and so I do think that is part of it. And then also I think it's a little bit different. Like they have their own spin on how they talk, so maybe the language sounds funny to people. And then just overall the setting, like just outdoors and stuff, for a lot of people that's kind of weird. Yes. So okay, now let's talk about this daddy stuff. Okay, so the age play stuff I think is interesting. I'm gonna be definitely interested to see how that plays out. And the other thing I'm looking for, y'all, is there a twinge of that romantic stuff? That like there's some of those weird people like Jesus is my boyfriend type of thing, and it's like somewhere between like purity ball culture and like other kind of weird cultural manifestations of Christianity. So I'm waiting to see, does this stay strictly in the paternal daddy thing, or does it give us like the weird sort of some of those weird creepy vibes? Sophia Minor too small for pounds. Oh my goodness. Great to see you, Sophia. Great to see you here. Great to see you here. Really, really, really good to see y'all. I was just thinking about the unfortunate craziness we saw in the Transpositions Discord. Man, I felt like that was some traumatic shit that happened to all of us. But shout out to the Transpositions and shout out to the community for just riding it out with them. I love them. And I'm glad that Discord's gone. But yeah, it was good to see you there too. Katina, the ick. Oh, and then he meant he makes his bounce. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have a roll of tape. Let's go.
To this trend as daddy god Christianity.
Okay.
I was going between that and the kawaiification of Christianity, but I think I like daddy god Christianity a little bit more.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be exploring that phenomenon.
All right,
let's do it.
Watch the full clip that I just showed, but there's actually another one that I want us to start off with.
Okay.
So this is a reel from Ali Yost. She is the best friend.
Y'all, I'm scared, y'all. We are terminally online. We are terminally online, y'all, but nevertheless, I have some real apprehension about this. Like I said, I haven't seen this. What are we about to watch? I don't even know if I'm gonna be okay after this. I don't know how weird this is gonna get.
No, I've made several videos on Ashley Hetherington. Ali is also a Christian influencer, and this reel was very shocking for me.
All right, here we go.
Why a rainbow only comes out like in the sky after it rains? Like, why after it rains, Like, of all things, why does a rainbow happen after rain is finished, right? This is the cutest thing ever. Okay. And God said...
All right, y'all, she kind of got me. Because I have to admit, I really don't waste a lot of brain power wondering why rainbows only happen after it rains, all right? And I think it has something to do with, like, rainbows need water for the whole light prism thing to happen, light prism, light bending, rainbow stuff, right? I don't know. It needs water. That's why.
Between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on earth."
God should have had a little bit more foresight than that. God should have maybe thought through who he loves, doesn't love, what type of lifestyles he accepts, doesn't accept, all that type of stuff. And then because when I see rain, I'll be like, young man, there's no need to feel down. I say, young man, pick yourself off the ground. Yo, when we see the rainbow, we think of loving everybody. We think of inclusivity. Shout out to the LGBTQ community for really making the rainbow something actually worth celebrating, actually, to be honest with you. I love the rainbow flag. I feel like I tried to get some Pride sneakers the other day, and Puma said they're unavailable. I'm still trying to cop those. But look, y'all, like, I think it's so much better this way. Like, literally, the rainbow flag literally just means inclusivity, and like, it's just, I think that's great. Like, this whole sign from God thing, it's a very weird narrative. It's a very weird narrative, and it's also just so cultish. Like, this is one of those things, and I know for some reason Christians don't realize this, but it's just one of those things where, like, my textbook says this. The textbook I'm teaching, I teach y'all. I'm teaching the real shit this semester. They put me to real. They really put me to work like a real grown ass adult. Okay, I literally teach Gen Bio 1, right? Like, basic as shit. Like, I'm literally the first biology professor you get, and I'm my job is to introduce you to life. Oh, I wish I was kidding. All right, y'all. So part of this, right, is literally in the first chapter, we distinguish between what is science and what is not science. And one of the things that chapter makes very clear is that religion is not science. And that a lot of things that had traditionally religious or spiritual explanations, we now have natural scientific explanations for. And the rainbow is just like one of them things. Matter of fact, it's one of them things you really do learn about like in middle school or high school, right? And then by the time you're like a grown ass person, you're just literally like, I don't know. It was like something with waters and spectrums and colors and light bending. I don't know, right? Because that's literally what it is. So it's very mundane. And I don't mean mundane in the sense of like not interesting. I mean mundane in that it's literally natural. It literally just it's a naturally occurring phenomenon. We have a very regular natural explanation for it. And so it just seems silly to still be on that narrative about what a rainbow means. And then to be so baby brained, shout out to Sumami, that's a Sumami expression, to be so baby brained that you literally think you're gonna go on social media and present novel insights about this on the internet to other grown ass adults who also have the internet and a 6th grade education. But that is where we find ourselves. By the way, gang, cheers mode. I am here to celebrate with y'all. First day of school, y'all. Survived my first day of school. Survived my first class. Actually very excited. My students seem really cool. They're very enthusiastic. I'm teaching majors, so they really want to be there and they have to do well in the class. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm
sorry, guys. We have a really cute dad. We have a
cute dad. See, I said, what are we about to watch, y'all? I'm not okay with this. I'm literally not okay with this, y'all. Like, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies, y'all. Like, that's creepy. That's weird. That's weird. That's weird. Also, I don't mean to hurt nobody's feelings. I don't mean to sound superficial, but cute is a physical attribute of looking at another person, looking upon their face and determining, do you think they look good or not? And so it's just crazy. Like, our God is so cute. Isn't he the sexiest? Don't you just love his hot bod? When he smiles upon you and makes a rainbow. Doesn't he just light you all up inside? I told y'all this was gonna go down that weird. Jesus is my boyfriend lane, and we're creeping over there. We're creeping over there.
We're going to experience a rainbow every time it rains. So they never have to be afraid or think that I forgot the promise I made when I said I will never flood the earth again. By the way, it's beautiful. Like, he's so cute.
Look, Drew is uncomfortable. Drew is visually, physically uncomfortable with the cringe he is being subjected to. Christians, do you not realize we consider Drew the off-ramp to Christianity? Drew is like the nicest, most Christian-friendly, Christian-forward. His channel's really for Christians. Let's keep it real. A lot of us as atheists and non-believers, like, we love Drew, very nice guy. All his content's usually on point, but we don't even mess with him that much because his content's really for y'all. It's really for y'all. So it takes a lot. You have to be deep in that Kool-Aid to make this man this uncomfortable. Drew's sitting there like, I don't even have nothing for this. I don't even know what to say. He's just as lost as we are.
What? Cute?
What are we talking about?
So bad.
What are we talking about?
Okay, so first of all, the SpongeBob glasses.
Oh, yeah, I try to be the cool teacher, y'all. I gotta go with what you got. Yeah, AR, Yahweh ain't cute though. You know, he has that dictator, fascist, genocide, burn all your gay friends, kind of sacrifice his son type of vibe. That's not. Yeah, I don't usually mess with dudes like that.
Like to comment on people's.
I don't usually mess with dudes, but if I did, I wouldn't mess with dudes like that.
Whatever, but they're very SpongeBob-y to me.
Yeah, they are the jellyfish.
Look, y'all, if I decide I'm gonna date a man, okay, and I'm not gay or bi or any of that, it's just I date a man and I love who I love. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Because I love who I love. It won't be Yahweh. If I was gonna do that, Yahweh's not my type.
Also, it's like, yeah, God sent a rainbow after he just murdered every single living thing on Earth.
There you go.
Except for like a handful of people and animals.
Yeah.
What is cute about that? There's literally nothing cute.
It's a reminder that God genocided the whole world except for the people who are going to repopulate it via incest.
Yeah.
That's not exactly adorable.
Yeah, it's not cute.
I said my girlfriend thinks it's cute when I say I won't drown a city. Yeah, tell that to anyone whose house has been damaged by a hurricane. Facts, Katina. And even that story, like what a monstrous story. Like if she just does that whole cute rainbow spiel to you, you're just gonna look at her and be like, you realize he had just destroyed everything on the planet, including all the living stuff. Like all of it, y'all. All the men, women, children, the babies, the animals, the plants, he just destroyed the planet, y'all. So you're literally trying to tell me your God is cute because he made a rainbow after he destroyed the fucking planet? Oh my God, thank God for the LGBTQs. Thank God for the queers, because the queers saved the rainbow. We can finally enjoy a rainbow again. We can enjoy the beauty, the natural, the scientific explanation of all the pretty colors that we get. And now we finally have a cultural group that's made us excited about the rainbow again. Because the Christian story is just monstrous. Monstrous.
A man abuses his wife, like physically abuses his wife, and then goes out and buys her a present and is like, oh, I'm sorry that this is, a present to make up for it. We would call that person abuser. That present doesn't make up for what he just did.
Yes.
It's still horrible.
I'm pretty sure that she wouldn't actually want to look at it every day as a reminder of the abuse.
Right? Also, rainbows aren't like this unexplainable phenomenon.
I know.
I have no idea why they happen.
Yeah.
It's light refraction. That's
right.
all it is. And rainbows don't just come out after it rains.
Yeah.
You can see a rainbow
you see one in the puddle.
Raining,
yeah.
Or you can see a rainbow in a waterfall or in mist or fog.
Yeah.
Like,
anytime there's something there to refract light in a certain way, that's...
Yeah.
So, like, basically when you get a garden hose and you put your thumb over it and you spray it out into the yard.
Wait, Sophia, what's in Enoch? What's her name? Was Margaret Barker, I think, is a big Enoch scholar, and I was really into her talks, but I never actually did go through and read the Book of Enoch. Sounds kind of interesting. Oh, rainbow is the bouquet after beating. Yes, exactly. Rainbow is the bouquet after beating.
Right, so now we're moving on to the one that.
And by the way, y'all, I want to bring this up in another context, which is I've been hearing, always we're hearing these freaking slavery debates. I think Rationality Rules made a good video about basically the fact that like God does command conquest, and when he does, he basically gives it the old, when you go to take over an entire place, offer them the opportunity to surrender to you, and if they do surrender to you, they'll become your slaves, right? And if they don't, then just kill everybody. So literally slavery was like the better of the two options. So I want that to be clear, because people tend to go to, oh, God has regulations for slavery and he doesn't condemn it. No. He commands it. He commands it. It's like part of his whole MO. It's like his thing. Okay. And so, yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like he comes and they're threatening to wipe out your entire people. Oh, but if you don't want that, then, agree to be our property and be our fucking slaves. So Yahweh's just an abuser. And I honestly, like, I'm starting to grow more and more offended by people insisting that God is love and gaslighting us. Like, I'm really getting to a point where it feels like it's just okay to push back on the gaslighting and just tell these people that's not true. And like, I'm really sorry, but you need to understand your faith better than this. Because the truth is, we do understand it. The truth is, we know that Bible way better than they do. And so when they come to us with this nonsense, we're just like, sorry, that's just not the way it really is.
That we watched at the very beginning of this video.
Hooray!
All shouting.
Hi, Dad! Hi, Dad! Hi, Dad! Dad! Hey, Dad! 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 Papa's playing right now. Dad!
What are they? That's so weird.
Dad! Dad is here!
Okay. Here's the other thing that's weird about this. Like, let's say I meet up with my dad at a park or Pinochle game or something, right? And I'm like, Dad! Oh, cool, great, my dad is here. And I give him a hug, right? And I give him a hug, okay, cool. That's it. We're done, right? Like, I don't have to keep calling out for him, right? When do you call out for your parents? Repeatedly. When do you repeatedly call out for your parents, y'all? When they're not there, right? You lost in the damn grocery store. Mom! Oh, God damn it. I wandered off to the toy aisle and I don't know where Mom! You know what I'm saying? Or you wake up from a nap and ain't nobody home, right? Dad, where you at? Dad, right? You're running around. You call out for your parents repeatedly when they're not there. What kind of sense does it make to call out repeatedly for somebody that's there? Jay, I'm here. Jay, I heard you the first time. I'm right here. Right? Like, that's it. So it's very weird that they don't even realize that they're literally doing something that you actually only do with a parent who's not present.
Dad!
And then they're hugging each other.
Play it again. Play it again. We love you, Dad.
Yeah, it was weird,
almost feel
y'all.
ashamed of myself for how deeply I'm cringing at that. Like,
Yeah,
I told you we got him.
About this before being like viscerally like having a strong reaction to it. I don't know.
First of all, I want to know, why are they screaming this? Like, what prompted this?
TikTok.
Secondly, I'm just thinking of the perspective of like an outsider to this.
Because they
like
know Yahweh
picking on
isn't
this
there.
hill.
Exactly, AR. Exactly. Mode, y'all.
And they like happen upon a bunch of early 20-somethings screaming dad out into the abyss.
Yeah.
Like it's some sort of seance. Like they're trying to summon God or something.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. Is it not?
So for me, growing up in evangelicalism, I never referred to God as dad. It was always Father God, because that's how he's referenced in the Bible.
Yeah.
And he's called a king, he's called a lion, he's called many things.
Yeah.
But I have never heard dad, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing all these Christian influencers refer to him as dad, which I find really interesting because I feel like the title of father comes with it a certain amount of respect, and there's a certain amount of distance in that type of relationship. Like, if you're referring to someone as your father, they're more likely to be in a position of authority over you. That's more of like an authority type title.
Yeah, I mean, if you know someone and they're like, they never say my dad, they always say my father, you're like, oh yeah, you guys probably have
like
kind of
a distant relationship.
Yeah, or he's very stern or something.
Yeah, or like estranged a little bit. But dad, it's like they're trying to fit God into their like human idea of what a relationship is.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're using that word now.
Yeah. It's not like...
Yeah, this is very interesting. And I'm going to get a little bit probably too personal here, but it really makes me think of our parents. And, you know, I know not everybody out there has a good relationship with their parents or even a relationship with their parents, and I don't want to take that for granted. But it really does feel like an insult, I think, to actual fathers and like what it means to like be there. I know, like, growing up, like, my parents are divorced. And so, you know, I had to do visitations with my dad coming up, you know, go spend 1 or 2 weekends a month with my dad and then spend half the summer with my dad. But when you grow, but as you're, even I appreciate it when I was growing up, but I appreciate it so much more, obviously, as an adult. Sometimes growing up, it was tough, you know, because I had to miss things, right? My friends are having a birthday party, or I want to hang out with my girlfriend and I can't because I got to go to New Jersey for the weekend to be with my dad. But you really appreciate that, like, that commitment that like my dad had to be there. And even his relationship with my mom not working out. By the way, my parents get along great. They're you know, they're friends. But that was not an excuse. And like he still had to put all that time and effort and paying child support and, you know, coming to games, coming to basketball games I didn't score in, and, you know, coming to band concerts, and, you know, literally having to drive to a goddamn another state after work just to like be there, you know? And, you know, now a lot of y'all know, like, me and my dad are close. We play cards together. When I was in Michigan, he'd come and gather like at least like once a week and like play cards with me. Like, we play cards together and gather. Like, that's what real fathers do. Like, they have to put in this effort to like really, really be there for real. And I remember even like growing up feeling weird about the whole thing about like calling my stepdad dad or whatever, you know, because I never wanted that to be something that upset my father. And it never did. And I think about how my stepdad really earned that. Like, he has, you know, I would say he has 5 kids, and that includes me. And, you know, him and I, you know, had a good relationship. He was, you know, with my mom most of the time. I was like in school coming up and stuff like that. And so my stepfather really earned his right to be part of the parental team. Like, he earned that right to be called dad. And I think even my father appreciated that, because he was there for me and he did treat me like his own son. And you know, when I had games or things like that, like, all my parents, they'd be there together. It'd be my mom and my stepdad and my dad and his girlfriend or his wife, whoever he was with at the time, they would be there too. And now even my mom's married for like a third time. And you know, there's been some times where, even though I'm older and I'm in a much different place now, you know, having her get married when I'm in my 30s than, you know, than when I was a child, but even her husband now, he's just been there for so many ways. He's helped me through so many different things. He always looks at me. He puts in that effort to be there and for me to know that I have him as part of my support system. And I could say the same thing about my dad's girlfriends, my dad's wives, no matter what age and stage of life. My dad's ex-wife now, she was the real estate person that helped me get this place, and she, oh my God, y'all, I cannot tell you the hours that she put into finding places, going to places, filing complaints when I got discriminated against. I mean, she absolutely 100% treated my move like her son was moving, and she needs to make sure that we get the best situation possible. Like, and so I just feel like this fictive parent thing is like not the move. Like, you know, when I look back at like that calling God Father and all this stuff, like, it kind of makes me sick to my stomach. Even my own hesitation towards parenting, like, it's really like, it's like doubting that I'm enough. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's like saying like, yo, if I have a fucking kid with somebody, I gotta be a father. That means I gotta show up. I gotta be there. I gotta sacrifice what I want financially for what they need financially. Like, and it's a whole ton of responsibility. And I'm literally like, yo, real talk, I just don't think I'm up for it. You know, I don't all my friends that are dads, like, I have so much love and respect for them, so much appreciation, because that parenting shit is hard. So yeah, I just, it's kind of like Uncle Bobby says when they talk about, when he talks about different things, he says, I'm not going to talk my parents like that. That's kind of how I feel with this. Like, I'm like, it's not cute to pretend that some God that's invisible and I can't really demonstrate has ever done anything for me deserves that honorific title that is literally reserved for the people that brought us into this world. And for the most part, I know, like I said, I know not everybody has a relationship or good, but for the most part, they did what they could to sustain us. And that is how they earn that. And you do hear that difference too, where people will say dad or whatever, with people that sort of they have a good relationship with, and not, they'll be like, that's my father, right? And I think that was a very important insight that she brought to this. And like my grandmother never knew her father, and I really do think that that's part of her religiosity was being, you know, essentially brainwashed into this eternal father being the perfect father that you know, would never leave or abandon her and all that type of stuff. But then when you think about it, it just makes me even sadder. That's two fathers that you don't really know, that aren't really there. Yeah, so it's crazy.
A complete departure from what evangelicals have been doing for a while, or even a departure from what Protestants have been doing for a while. I do think that especially evangelical Christians in America have been preaching this message of really narrowing the gap between the individual and God for a long time. So this might be a natural extension of that, but it does, I think, for the reason you're saying, feel weird to me, because this is almost describing God like a person and not as a like ethereal supreme being, maximally great being, right?
Yeah.
Another take of mine on this is that, you know how people like Ashley Hetherington like to say, oh, we shouldn't do what like the culture says, we should do what the Bible says.
Sumami said an evangelical church lady is talking in the canvassing room on Zoom right now. Sumami is signing up for the Harris phone banking canvassing operation. God, I just think that's so awesome. I just think that's so great, Sumami. But yeah, yes. When you do the political work, you end up working close with church people because they all up in it. So, you know, we're here to commiserate.
And then we say, well, your interpretive framework for, you know, looking at the Bible is actually a product of modern culture. It's not like ancient, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Logan. Like rubbing salt in the wound telling someone without a dad that this invisible entity can fill the void, and if it can't, it's your fault for not bowing him correctly. I couldn't have said that any better myself. That is perfect.
That this is a product of their interpretive framework of God and the Bible being very much affected by modern
That's what it sounded like, AR, like she might be in there
In
preaching.
modern America, we don't like hierarchy. We don't like authority very much. We like everybody to be kind of on an even playing field. And so I see this as kind of narrowing the gap between God and man in a way that we have done with fathers and with families in the past. So, I mean, we don't think of fathers today the same way that we would have thought of fathers at the time when the New Testament was written, as like the head of the household who's basically a commander who commands slaves. You know, now we think of fathers as another person who's supposed to be there to help you out and steward you when you're young.
Okay.
And so I think that...
Okay, y'all. Confession time. This man, Drew, I'm gonna just say, subscribe to Genetically Modified Skeptic. Sometimes I just go back and forth on him. Y'all know how I am, y'all. You can literally piss me off just by being too nice to believers. Y'all, it's not that. It's really like I'm just trying to be authentic and bring the realness, and I feel disappointed when I feel like other people aren't like helping normalize that. But Drew is really like the off-ramp. Like, he is so good at making content for, you know, people that are new to deconversion or just questioning Christians, and just making it so digestible, and it's well written and well produced, and it just makes all of this something you can sit with, something you can live with, something you can like work your way through. And I really appreciate him for that. But what he just did right now, y'all, was he proved to me he's really about that life, because he just did that shit on the spot, I think. And I think it was really, and I think that was like really good, right? So first off, we all said it, and he even said it. He's like, bro, he's like, this is super cringe for me. This is like making me uncomfortable. It's like really, really weird. So even for him, we're like way out here in some bizarre land. But the analysis he just gave was spot on. If you think about it, we really do that now, right? Like, there was a time when, you know, fathers were like, wait until your father gets home. You know what I mean? And it really was, the man is the head of the household. And, you know, there was a lot of emphasis on hierarchy, and dad was, at least in some normative sort of stereotypical way, even if your individual household was a deviation from that, there was still this sort of expectation that this is sort of how fathers were. And I do think the theology reflects that, right? And I think now things are very different. And it does remind me, I think he called it like flattening the hierarchy. I think that's a really insightful way to put it, right? Dad is now not the lord over the house so much as he's your confidant. He's in your corner. He's Coach Walls now, right? That's Coach Walls is America's new dad, right? And that's literally what you want in your dad now. Now dad is the coach. You understand? And he's for everybody. He's behind everybody. He supports everyone, you know. And that's, so I think that there's something real there. And in some sense, it makes sense that a Christian, especially a young Christian, and, you know, a lot of these same Christian girls who, you know, their dads were doing the girl dad thing and all that kind of stuff, that they do try to relate to God in this different way. And I think that's, you know, that's been true for like a while. I remember even myself, I definitely, you know, I understood that I was supposed to have a relationship with God where I didn't fear God and I wasn't fearful, and I saw God as like a supporter and part of my support system. And even Jesus, like, you know, I would like I would talk a lot of shit about Jesus and curse when I talked about Jesus and shit like that. But because it got to a point where I literally felt like I was supposed to treat Jesus like a brother. I'm supposed to be part of the family. You know what I'm saying? In my family, ain't nobody above us talking shit about you. So, you know, it would be the same. It would be the same thing. Like I would crack jokes about Jesus in a heartbeat. I just thought that was supposed to be like that. And I noticed some Christians were weird, like, but I'd be like, I don't know what's wrong with you. So there is a real way of making sense of all of this in that kind of way. And I think, I think like when he said that, I was like, yo, this dude is really good. This dude's really good. Go subscribe to his channel because this dude is he's really good. He's really good. He got that.
That's really like what they're projecting onto God. God's not really this great grand authority figure who can be brutal and you have to submit.
Hey, Lena.
Right? God's like a cuddly little guy who has like a funny beard and a belly.
I think you're right here. I think that they're kind of operating with a more modern view because they wouldn't want to look at God as though he's a dictator.
Yeah.
Which back in the day with how the family unit was structured, the father was much more of a dictator that kind of told his family what to do, especially if you were a woman.
Right.
But they don't like that. And so they want to have a God that's much more of a dad figure, like a dad who like packs your school lunch and writes little love notes and like sticks them in your school lunch. Like,
actually, I think that's this is really great for them, right? Like Coach Walls is like I said, he's like America's dad right now. And then Mamala, like that's what we need. Like think about like everybody just going, you're going to the polls to vote for Mamala and Coach Walls, okay, versus fucking fascist. like that's the I if I'm her campaign, I love that. I really do. I'm leaning into it.
A dad or type of God that they want.
Yeah, and when those lunch notes remind you of a genocide that he did, it's actually just cute. Really cute.
Okay, so
that's gonna be in the next. It's gonna be in the next JD Vance speech. Next JD Vance speech. If Kamala wins, we're gonna have this country run by cat ladies with their sim babies. And the funny thing is, no one in the audience will even know what the fuck he's talking about.
This reel is from a woman named Ali Schnacky.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce her last name. This is my first time, like researching for this video was the first time that I'd ever seen any of her stuff. But she is a very large Christian influencer, actually.
Yeah, 81,000 likes.
Yeah,
oh my God.
She has like almost 1 million followers on Instagram.
Okay.
Oh.
No.
Do you want to read it?
Okay,
y'all. She just put this thing. Yeah, I know some of y'all are probably listening. She put this thing above her door. First of all, it just got this like romantic, uber white music playing. So it just gives you that weird vibe. And then it's got Jesus. Like it's this weird thing. It goes on like the corner of your door, and I'm gonna be real descriptive. Over to the left side, hanging at the top of the door, it's like a little Jesus peeking out, and then the text is right above the door. It's like connected to the corner piece, and the text says, "I saw that." So it's like you're putting something up there that says, "I saw that," and it's got Jesus peeking out at you. And so the idea is like it reminds you when you're in a room that Jesus is always there, and he always saw that. Masturbation, y'all. That's all I gotta say is masturbation, y'all. Masturbation is a normal, healthy part of of any person's life. But you mostly do it in your room, y'all. Could you imagine just splooging all over yourself and then looking up and this Jesus thing is just looking at, I saw that. I feel like she didn't think this through. She better than me, y'all. She one of them real ones, y'all. She not gonna have no boys over. That's not gonna be a problem for her. I will tell you right now, it'd be a problem for me.
Do you want to read it?
I can't.
when you're grown, but your dad still wants you to have accountability. So I'm assuming that they're in
What?
the bedroom.
Yeah.
And their dad has this little picture of Jesus that says, "I saw that," placed above their door frame, like staring at their bed.
Oh, gross. So your dad wants you to have accountability. So her dad gave her that? Daddy issues. This might be the new kitty table. You know? You say that immature, dumb shit, kitty table. And you have some weird daddy issues. Daddy issues. I'm telling y'all, this is... Oh,
Just
man.
watching you masturbate.
See, Drew he knows what time it is.
Like, and they're just like sitting there giggling, like, "Ha, that's so cute that my dad did that." That's not cute. How is that cute?
I feel like if you don't think about it too much,
Yeah, if you just don't think
just
about it,
looks
of
like
course.
a funny little like haha thing. But it's not that they don't believe it. Like they take it seriously.
Yeah. No, they really think that there is a supernatural deity watching every single thing that they ever do or say.
Yeah.
And is going to punish them based off of that.
And yet some still like to just call him dad.
So what I'm learning from this video is that a reminder that God will never genocide the entire world again is super cute.
Right.
And then also constant surveillance is super cute.
Yeah, even into your mind. God can sense your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the Rochester. Depends on who you ask. That might be the one thing most Americans agree on is that reactionary America is off in some alternate reality, and they don't want a clue, nor would they know. Yeah, I feel like that's something most Americans can agree on.
Oh gosh, this one is so weird.
Oh my gosh,
Weird.
I don't know if it actually is. I'll be disappointed if it's not. I don't know what this is. Is this for Allie? It's a Bible pillow? Yeah. Now I don't have to use my actual Bible as a pillow anymore. It's a literal...
Now I don't have to use my actual...
Stop it right now. And it's the way that it's the perfect scripture. Bro, it's literally the most perfect scripture. It's about not worrying and not being anxious.
Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body. But seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about
Yes,
itself.
Lord.
Each day has enough trouble of its own.
Woo!
I love you.
Sorry, y'all, I just had to fake it for a second. Isn't it weird how Christians expect to just read from the Bible and like you're just like they expect to just right? She just started to read from it, like so excited, like yes, Lord. Yeah, like and that's weird. That's weird, yeah, bro. I don't do that anymore. The Bible like creeps me out. Although I gotta admit, I think that's like a funny prop. Like I think the Bible pillow used like if somebody like us if we used it like ironically or something, you know what I mean? It's like a fun gaffe. It's very creepy though that you know in this whole, like I said, in this whole Jesus is my boyfriend realm, it gets a little weird. And then you got your huggable, squeezable white Jesus plush toy here. Okay. And again, like all of these are decisions. You know, all of these are decisions. So you eventually get to like, I think of truth and reconciliation is like a thing a lot of these places and these institutions are into. And it's like, man, wait till we start to talk about white Jesus. We're going to have a very uncomfortable conversation.
Get out. There he is. Oh my gosh, there's a little flap.
The Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Oh,
Wow, that's a lot of energy.
wow.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm just gonna say it here. Maybe the Muslims were right. Maybe we shouldn't have any graven images of any of these things.
See, that's
We
it.
should
It's a
not depict
commitment.
people or books or anything related to the religion. We should just keep it serious.
I also, like, of course, it opens up to verses from the New Testament. Like, just imagine if you open it up and it's just, like, the most fucked up verses from the Bible.
You open up to Isaiah and it says many, many different things that could be...
Nitty, I don't... Can you read this on YouTube? There she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emission was like that of horses. Well, all right. But yeah, this is really this. I'm telling y'all, this is that Jesus is my boyfriend shit. It's really weird.
Qualify as fucked up. But one could be, you know, I am the Lord. I create good and evil. I love creating evil and death.
Okay, imagine if it was Numbers 31:17. Kill all the boys and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man.
I feel like if you wanted to give someone a present, like when you're all getting together to support them when they've just gone through a breakup, kill all boys maybe is funny. But the rest of it is pretty fucked up.
What about Genesis 22:2? Then God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you.
So this is that atheist question of you know, when your Christian friends start talking to you about the Bible, you ask them if you could pick out a Bible passage for them to for you to like read to their children before bed or something like that. This is I love it though. We can pick and choose Bible passages too.
But God didn't make him go through with it, okay? They just did animal sacrifice instead.
I mean, he had him like strapped down to a rock, right? And he was like lifting it up to do it.
Yeah,
it's biblical, I mean, of course. It's
Isaac
safe for you too. That's so true.
After that.
Yeah, Isaac obviously had like major PTSD after that, for sure.
For sure.
Also, I looked up this Bible pillow because I was curious as to how much it cost. It's $50.
50 bones.
Yeah.
Cool. Is it commission? Like, is this like an affiliate thing? Is she getting paid for this?
I don't think so.
Oh my goodness! Also, the web gets deeper.
Says
that'd be crazy.
Soaking music in the background.
I was gonna bring that up.
What the?
I mean, they're not Mormon, right? So it doesn't.
As far as I don't think.
Imagine if they were. It would just be another level.
Yeah,
of fucked.
I'm like, I don't know what soaking music, like soaking in the bathtub. Is that what that is?
I don't know.
Soaking in God's presence.
I don't know.
Soaking before
marriage.
I don't
know.
All I know is that $50 for a Bible pillow is
a lot.
Not worth it.
It's not even the whole Bible.
Little Jesus plushie was that she got, but I have a really great plushie, and it did not cost me $50. And also, it is not a representative of someone who genocided the entire world. And is going to send everybody to hell that doesn't believe in him.
I think you'd have to lean back a little bit to show him. I mean,
extreme sexual frustration and perversion. Yeah, and I think that's a weird thing, and that's definitely what goes on in Christianity. And I think this stuff is it's very obviously that, right? It's very obviously like all this pent up sexual energy with no real healthy outlet for it, so you just cult it, just white knuckle it and throw it all on Jesus. And it's very, and it has that, it literally, you know, it has that, like, she's like, oh, let's light up like my prom date is here, and it's like, and then of course the perversion, this like weird obsession with what everybody else is doing. So you deny yourself all of the healthy sexual expression, and then are obsessed with what everybody else is doing. And it's just super creepy. It's super creepy. It's just like that dad giving her the Jesus, I saw that thing. That's just literally like a dad giving his daughter like a creepy don't have sex with boys thing, and then them like celebrating it together because it's they Christ washed it. Gross.
Point, right?
Yeah.
He's not the prettiest.
I mean, at least he hasn't committed genocide.
That's true.
He does want to take over the world with his satanic church, so that's a bit problematic, but
I mean, we wouldn't support that, any church, including a satanic church, doing that. But I will point out as all good atheists do, I guess, that Satan killed way fewer people in the Bible than God.
That is true.
Like an order of magnitude or two less.
Yeah. All right. Last one here.
Yeah, I used to love me a good Christian bookstore back in the day, and it is interesting how religious families feel obviously a lot safer there, and I really do. I've often described that as like the problem with education. You know, like if you want these people to learn about science or history or something like that, they won't go to the library. They'll go to the Christian bookstore, which is why they'll get apologetics.
This reel is from Milena Cicciati.
Was up on top of his roof, walking around, looking at all his palace. He saw a pretty woman, Bathsheba is her name. She was taking a bath. King David has requested you. Please follow us.
What people think I mean when I say I teach my littles about the Bible
Was up on top of his roof,
versus what I actually mean.
looking at all.
Of all the stories in the Bible,
Yeah.
So
chose
weird.
David and Bathsheba. That is not a kid-friendly story.
No, not even close.
That story has essay and murder in it.
Yeah.
See, that is like just literally all this like pent up sexual tension that they're dealing with, and like not knowing like proper boundary functioning. Like you don't do that. That's a no-no.
Children's story.
I mean, she cuts it off, but the very next scene, it's like, yeah, David has invited you to the palace. And then what happens after that is completely against her consent.
Yeah.
And then she has
Cheers, gang.
her husband murdered by the guy who just assaulted her.
If you guys aren't familiar with that story, King David sees this beautiful woman, Bathsheba, bathing, and he's struck by her beauty, basically. But she's married to another dude. But King David doesn't care. He just takes her and sleeps with her. And the implication there is that he rapes her.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say that she wanted to do it. He just says, the Bible just says he took her for his own or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording.
And the historical context, I mean, the idea that women consented
It's like
to
wasn't
sex.
even a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, women were like property that were taken by men.
Yeah.
So.
And then she ends up getting pregnant. So what King David does is send her husband to the front lines of a battle so that he'll be killed. And then God's like a little pissed, just a little pissed at David for doing that. So as punishment for David, he kills the son, Bathsheba's son that she gives birth to, and makes all of David's other wives, because King David had multiple wives.
Yeah.
He makes them all become prostitutes.
So
It's not a children's story.
huge dub for women.
But yet they say we are the ones who are the groomers.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, I want to get all this pornography out of libraries. And it's like, this described not in graphic language like someone's first sexual encounter versus like rape and murder and power dynamics. And I mean, yes, David ends up being the bad guy, but like this is pretty gross.
But you can see how these Bible stories are so normalized in our culture that
David doesn't end up being the bad guy, right? It's King David. He's like a I don't know, last I checked, he's like a pretty big deal in the faith. And despite everything he does, they consider him a man of God. Matter of fact, he's like their go-to for like why sometimes men of God just to get to be fucking assholes. And then even the whole thing about Jesus and why Jesus is rightfully the fucking king of the Jews is because he's of the line of David. Whereas, like, I don't know, in our modern times, if we knew this was somebody, well, never mind, fucking Trump, what am I talking about?
Her children, it's not even that she's just telling the story, but she's doing it in this like overly cutesy way.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you actually read the text, what is cute about it?
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but your thesis here for what qualifies as daddy God Christianity or the qualification of God is saying that reminders of genocide are okay and they should be normalized because you can twist that into making it really cute. Also, if you downplay the tyrannical nature of God and depict him using different words like dad, then you can portray him as being this cuddly guy that you might want to get to know too. If you make little jokes about how God is always watching you, even in your own mind, then it just makes it like fun and a joke rather than a horrifying realization about living in an eternal surveillance state.
Yeah.
That if you leave out all of the gross verses, then you can depict the Bible as being something soft and cuddly and cute in a pillow. And finally, if you act goofy enough, I guess, you can tell a pretty awful, disgusting story about a horrible person, and it's completely child friendly and in fact like of great moral virtue.
So yeah, Daddy God Christianity is basically putting Christianity and God in these like overly cute and sappy terms to a level that I personally have never seen before.
Yeah.
And that's happening all over social media.
Right. So why do you think that people are doing this? Like, why is this getting popular?
I think that there's two primary reasons for why this is getting popular. I think number one, I think it's easier for people to harmonize their morality with the morality of the God of the Bible if they kind of put this cute little twist on it. And secondly, it's a lot easier to proselytize with this version of Christianity than other versions.
That's true.
It's easier to proselytize with a cute, cuddly Jesus versus like fire and brimstone preaching.
Right. I mean, maybe there are some people who like the brutal stuff, but do people watching girly pop Christian TikTok and Instagram? Probably not.
And that's something that's notable about this trend is that it seems to be specifically among the Christian girlies.
Yeah.
And I think it is for that reason. I think that they are more drawn to the cute and cuddly type stuff versus Christian men. They want like a strong, powerful God.
Yeah. On social media,
So I think it's weird that I don't know. I guess like I don't even know what to do with this Christ-washed, whitewashed narrative of the faith. Like the God is love, God loves everybody. I love everybody because of Jesus. Like I have so many issues with it. And I just don't even know like where people get the audacity to be that boldly dishonest about a thing everybody can find out. Right? Like I said earlier, God orders genocide and offers slavery as the alternative to those who don't want to die. You can just like go pull up Bible Gateway and see if that's true or not. We talked earlier about the rainbow as a sign of God's covenant, God's promise. God, what promise? What covenant? Literally not to destroy the earth again by water. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Why do we continue to see so much LGBTQ discrimination about it? What is almost every single bigot cite every single time? Religion. What are we talking about? In 2024, what are we talking about? Oh, well, we were all created in the image of God and love and blah, blah, blah. We weren't created. We evolved. Everybody knows this. Read a biology textbook. I really don't know what to tell you. We have an explanation about where life comes from. What are we talking about? It is just so flagrantly, just totally, I'm just going to flagrantly disregard reality and then put social pressure on you to like go along with me. It's wild.
Very sexually dimorphic. Like it's cute and cuddly for girls, and it's big and strong and scary for guys.
Manosphere for guys.
Yeah, we just have like a gender neutral Christianity. I don't think they're gonna go for that. If we made a Bible plushie pillow that only had fucked up Bible verses on it, would you guys buy it? Would Amazon even let us sell it?
I feel like you can sell anything on Amazon.
Ooh.
I feel like we could.
Should we try it?
Thank you so much for watching, and a huge thank you to my patrons who help make these videos possible. If you like this...
All right, gang, that was super fun, and I decided, fuck it, we're going to double feature I Want to Bitch About Hulk Hogan.
Ever since Hulk Hogan addressed the Republican National Convention last month, people who know that I am a professional wrestling fan have been asking me to say something about it, have been asking me for my reaction to it, and I wasn't going to say anything about it because, to be quite honest, yes, I am a professional wrestling fan. Not really a Hulk Hogan fan, at least not anymore. And I just didn't feel like it was worth commenting on. And all
right, so for people don't know, like, man, it's crazy. So I assume most people know who Hulk Hogan is, and he's, probably the most famous wrestler ever. Okay, cool. What I'm not sure as many people know is that most wrestling fans hate Hulk Hogan and have for quite some time. So we're having this bit of a weird moment. I kind of can relate to this guy in that sense. We're having a bit of a weird moment in the sense that for grown-ass people, mostly who don't pay attention to wrestling but do pay attention to presidential politics, they're like, oh, Hulk Hogan is a right-wing celebrity. And a lot of people are like surprised, like, oh, I didn't even know Hulk Hogan was a conservative, or I didn't know Hulk Hogan was a Trump supporter. And, whatever. So that's cool. And so they're kind of learning for the first time that Hulk Hogan is an asshole. And then it's weird because as a wrestling fan, you're like, oh, but as wrestling fans, this is not actually new for us. Most of us have known for decades, literally, that Hulk Hogan is not a good person. Now, there is another whole thing, which is that most wrestling fans are only Hulk Hogan fans. You were like a Hulkamaniac when you were like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something. And then like people found out wrestling wasn't real or whatever. Most of your friends probably stopped watching wrestling and started making fun of you for watching wrestling. But if you kept watching wrestling, then you became a wrestling fan. And as such, you became fans of people who can actually wrestle. And so most of us became what you call like internet marks, and you kind of turned on Hulk Hogan anyway, because like, if you go back and watch, like Hulk Hogan's matches weren't really great. They were mostly hype and pandemonium, and his moves were very limited. And so Hulk Hogan matches are actually boring from a wrestling standpoint. And so most people, like, you become a wrestling fan, you became a fan of people like Ric Flair, right? People who are like technically great, and they could wrestle these like hour-long technical matches with all this storytelling and great athleticism built in. Like, that became your thing. So I just want to separate those two things, because it is true that, like, as most wrestling fans mature, they were less Hulk Hogan fans, and a lot of people just say simply, like, I don't think he's a good wrestler, and that's what they're talking about. And so they kind of feel like he didn't deserve to be like the top dude. They're much more comfortable with like the status that Ric Flair had, at least in the ring. He's also a terrible person, apparently, outside of the ring. But all right, so then this is separate. This is another thing where, as the internet's become more of a thing, and, a lot of us that grew up watching wrestling, but also having the internet, we started getting involved in like the dirt sheets, which is like basically reading, wrestling newsletters and forums and things that are like behind the scenes. They're like out of character. You're talking about people using their real names, talking about things that are going on behind the scenes in the business, talking about people's contracts, people's personal lives, okay, all that type of stuff. And so a lot of times, that was a huge part of being a wrestling fan, because you like knew shit that was going to happen on TV before it even happened. Yeah, some of that'll come up, and so we've kind of known for a long time that Hulk Hogan's an asshole. That's the main thing, and now it's weird because we're having to explain this shit to people.
Then, earlier this week, another Hulk Hogan Trump-related story broke, where Hulk Hogan was at an event in Ohio promoting his new brand of beer and having a little party to promote his beer, and he was caught on video saying this.
You want to get crazy? You want me to throw more beers out? You want me to body slam somebody? You want me to body slam Kamala Harris? I said, do you want me to body slam Kamala Harris? You want me to drop the leg on Kamala?
Kamala.
Is Kamala a chameleon?
Kamala.
Is she Indian?
Kamala.
Okay, I like it.
Kamala.
Ow. That video was first.
Ooh. Oh, gang, that cringe right there. I felt my soul leave my body. Look, just we have to just.
Is Kamala a chameleon? Is she Indian? Okay, I like it. Ow.
That video.
Bro. What do you even say? Like, that is just, that's vile. That is like vile. Like, he's seriously still stuck in the 80s at the height of his career, where people just said the most vile shit. Like, it's just is she a chameleon? So it's like questioning the authenticity of somebody's race, and then is she Indian? And then like playing this fucking game, and then like acting like she's playing a game where she's trying to like deny her blackness or some shit like that. And then just the totally just offensive thing at the end that's like, I don't even know the difference between, you know, Native American and people from, you know, the perhaps the Indian subcontinent, right, or India, right? Like, it's just what, like. And so that's just Hulk Hogan, right? Like, that's Hulk Hogan, y'all. And then it's like, I don't know what to tell people. It's so weird, y'all. It's so weird. Just, that's Hulk Hogan. Like, I just don't, like, I don't know I know it might be news. You might not have paid attention to Hulk Hogan with like eat your vitamins, say your prayers, and like ripping t-shirts and like slamming Andre the Giant. But we've learned a lot about Hulk Hogan in the intervening years. And that is Hulk Hogan.
Video was first published by TMZ, and I'll have the link to the TMZ article in the video description if you want to check it out and read more about it. But a few things to say about what you just saw. First of all, that call and response he was doing with the crowd, where he would say a line and then the crowd would come back with what, and then he would say something else. Wrestling fans know this already, but for the uninitiated, that's not Hulk Hogan's bit. That's a Steve Austin bit, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve Austin came up with that. Now, I know it's wrestling and people borrow each other's stuff all the time. It's not that big of a deal. Hulk Hogan hasn't done anything here that any other wrestler hasn't done a million times before. And plus, you know, it's like a private event at a bar where he's just having a good time with the fans. It's not like that egregious of an offense, but just
Wait, y'all, I just fucked up everything. Hang on a second. I just fucked up the whole show. All right, hang on a sec. Hang on. I was just pressing all the wrong buttons, yo.
Hulk Hogan hasn't done anything here that any other wrestler hasn't done a million times before. And plus, you know, it's like a private event at a bar where he's just having a good time with the fans. It's not like that egregious of an offense, but just for the record, that was some Stone Cold Steve Austin shit he was doing. That wasn't some Hulk Hogan shit he was doing. At least his act at the RNC.
Look, Rochester, Rochester, I'm still a wrestling fan. We're not here to insult wrestling fans. Why do we still watch wrestling as grown ass men? Because it's still good. It's still pro wrestling. It's still entertaining. We still and we're attached to it. Like, you got to remember, pro wrestling, if you do watch, you can always get back into it. But part of what people just think about it is like, it's like a soap opera or a show. Like, I don't know, I like Game of Thrones or something, right? And what sucked about Game of Thrones? It ended. You know, it was like a really good whole bunch of years. We had it, and then it ended. Now they're doing a prequel, but that's why they do that. That's why people get into like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? It tries to at least loosely tie the comics and the movies and the shows and the games and all of this stuff into a cohesive world. And wrestling does that. You know, it's just crazy. You know, we just so anyway. That's a little bit of the spiel I'm willing to give today about why grown ass men are still watching wrestling. But
He
I
was
don't want to
ripping
get
the
going.
shirt. At least that's Hulk Hogan's bit. He didn't go up there and do Steve Austin's bit, right? But anyway, being a wrestling fan and being a
Katina,
somewhat
what he said that was not that egregious. He wasn't talking about what he said. He was talking about No, Katina, you're fine. He was talking about, hang on, I thought you were a mod. Hang on, let me give you mod privileges. Congratulations, welcome to the mod squad. Been around a while. Why do I not? Oh, I'm not logged into my Pocket Locker account. That's why it's not giving me the option right now. All right, anyway, when he said that when he said that what he did isn't that egregious, he was talking about him stealing Stone Cold Steve Austin's bit. The whole what thing. And he's saying with that, he hadn't done something that egregious because that is something wrestlers do. And saying that it's even more not a big deal because he's at a private function. Like, it would have been a little bit bigger of a deal had he done it at an actual wrestling event. So yeah, just to be clear, he's very upset about what he said. Yeah, just hopefully that clears that up.
conscientious wrestling fan, trying to be a somewhat responsible, enlightened, tolerant, open-minded wrestling fan, trying to be a wrestling fan that does not fall into the stereotype of what a wrestling fan is and who a wrestling fan is and what a wrestling fan's worldview would be. Part of that process is coming to terms with the fact that one of the biggest stars in the history of professional wrestling, Hulk Hogan, is a massive piece of shit. Now, this is not news to me. I've known this for a very long time. I am a recovered Hulkamaniac. When I was a little kid, I was just growing up when Hulkamania was at its peak in the late 80s. I first became a pro wrestling fan it was probably early 1988. It was during the build-up to the main event, which was a Friday night primetime TV special that the WWF put on in February of 1988. And it was the rematch between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant after WrestleMania 3. The big WrestleMania 3 match had taken place in March of 87. Hogan and Andre had continued to feud for the rest of the year after that. And then in February of 88, they were going to have the first televised rematch between Hogan and Andre. It was going to be on NBC primetime Friday night, and it wound up being the highest rated, still to this day, I believe it is the most watched professional wrestling show on TV ever in the history of anything. And that was what made me a fan, seeing the build up to that, like just happening to turn on the TV and seeing an angle between Hogan and Andre. All
right, now when he says an angle, what he's talking about is how the story is put together to build up to a match. So he's talking about typically their interviews, like their promos where they talk shit back and forth or whatever, where they establish whatever the basis of their feud is. And then sometimes it's like other things, segments with other people, backstage attacks, all that type of stuff. The reason I mention that is because, it's just sort of a thing where sometimes if you're not a wrestling fan, people don't realize that like a lot of times that stuff, although like I personally love wrestling matches, he's a pro wrestling fan. I'm sure he loves great pro wrestling matches. But for really what sells tickets and storylines and makes new fans and all that stuff, it's the stories, right? It's the background. And so what he's saying is he's flipping through the channel, he catches that, and it gets him excited. So it is in fact the storytelling that brings most people to wrestling.
I was hooked. I was a wrestling fan for life from that point. There's something about it that just got into my brain and never left. And I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. I loved Hulk Hogan. I was right in his demographic, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old when he was just coming down from his peak. He was the top star, and then he was gradually sort of running out of steam over a few years, but he was Hulk Hogan, man. He was the biggest thing going. He was the biggest star in wrestling, and I was 100% on board. I had a Hulk Rules t-shirt with the sleeves cut off, right? I had a Hulk Hogan bandana. I had all the Hulk Hogan action figures. I watched every show I could watch. I watched every pay-per-view I could watch. I begged my parents to buy the pay-per-views. If they wouldn't buy it for me, I begged my grandparents to buy the pay-per-views for me. Sometimes I would go over to my neighbor's house because I knew my neighbors were wrestling fans, and I would watch the pay-per-views there. If all else failed, I would go to my best friend's house. My best friend at the time was also a big wrestling fan. It was one of the things we had in common. And I was a Hulk Hogan mark. I loved Hulk Hogan. And
all right, so I'll relay a little bit of my experience. So I was also a Hulk Hogan fan as a little kid. That's kind of how it is. He's doing the whole eat your vitamins, saying your prayers. Me and this dude are around the same age, I think. And both have gray beards, but graying beards. But all right, so I had Hulk Hogan action figures and stuff like that. I was a big Hulk Hogan fan. Something that people often overlook is how social being a wrestling fan is when you're a kid, especially a young boy in America, because it was the thing all your friends did, and you would watch with all your friends and talk about in school and all that kind of stuff. And we were the same way. So I try to get my parents to order pay-per-views. If they didn't, then we tried to rotate, get one of my other friends to order it, and then we go to their house, and we tried to lessen the burden to our parents of ordering these pay-per-views. And then sometimes I'd be with my dad, and my dad actually worked as a cable television host most of my life, and he still has a show that he does for the university he works at. But yeah, so sometimes we would get to go to the cable company and we could watch the show, the pay-per-view for free at the cable company. And that was always super cool because we'd get to go into the control room. You'd see all those big cable control rooms, all the screens and all the TVs and the mixing boards and all that stuff, and to get to hang back there and watch the show. So I think that's sort of that type of early experience, I think, is where I fed my love of wrestling, but also my love of broadcasting and TV, and I feel very much like I have my own little mini version of that. So yeah, it's pretty cool to tie that together.
As I grew, as I matured, as I learned more things about the man behind the gimmick, I started to realize and come to terms with, he's actually not such a great guy.
Woo! We got a little decent little somebody with a little decent little wrestling knowledge in here. Logan Fisher said Randy Savage was better. That's the whole, there's movies about that. Yes, Randy had better promos. He was better on the mic, right? His character, he did way more with his costumes, and then in the ring, no comparison. Randy Savage was flying, technical, all over. People hated working with Randy Savage. They hated working with Randy Savage because Randy Savage scripted his matches on fucking note cards, and he would make dudes memorize the fucking match. Usually in a wrestling match, guys convene ahead of time. They generally establish the flow for the match. They talk about maybe what timing marks they want to hit for certain things. and then they make sure they talk about the major points of what they need to get in to make sure they get their stuff in, as we say. And then in the ring, somebody's calling the match, and they're working with the ref and the producers, and it's a whole thing. But it usually unflows. There's a sort of improvised element to it, even on TV, even on pay-per-views. Not when you worked with Randy Savage. So if you think about like that epic match he had at WrestleMania 3, right, which was the same night where Hulk Hogan slammed Andre, the best match on that card was actually Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in like a fucking hour fucking Broadway for the Intercontinental title. That's considered one of the greatest WWE matches and certainly WrestleMania matches of all time. So if you ever get a chance to go see that match, see it, and then think about he made him memorize all of that. But yeah, Randy's a fucking legend, and he'll talk about him politicking in a little bit, but a big victim of that was Randy Savage. Unfortunately, Randy Savage is somebody who, as great as he was, Hulk Hogan hurt his career a lot, definitely.
He's a pretty terrible guy, which isn't unique. There are a lot of wrestlers and a lot of famous people, period, who, when you peek behind their public persona, it turns out that they're assholes. Like, Hulk Hogan is certainly not alone in this respect. But it's a little disillusioning at first when the guy that you idolized as a kid, the guy who was literally your hero at one point in your life, turns out to be a massive piece of shit. But I've known that about Hulk Hogan for a very, very long time. Hulk Hogan was one of the all-time great politicians in the history of professional wrestling. He was a guy who politicked backstage to keep his spot on the card, to keep his stranglehold on the main event, to make sure that he was always the top guy. He always made the most money. He always got to work with the hottest wrestlers coming up so that he could sap a little of their heat for his own benefit. He was that kind of guy, right? He used his power.
So there's so many stories about this. Just so many. Probably one of the most egregious that nobody talks about is when Jesse Ventura wanted to unionize the wrestlers and talked about it in the locker room, and Hulk Hogan stooged on him to Vince McMahon. And still probably to this day, the most substantial effort that's ever been made to unionize wrestlers, and maybe the reason wrestlers don't have a union. But when he talks about the politicking, he did a lot of stuff. A lot of it was just refusing to put guys over, refusing to lose. Even Randy Savage, we talked about Savage, like when Savage won the world title, really they wanted to put the title on Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And there was a big thing with Hogan, didn't want that to go down. They ended up going with Randy, but Randy had to beat Ted in this tournament, and Hogan did this other fucking thing. Like, it was just like, dude, like, just do the fucking thing and like put the guy over so we can go to the next big thing. And Hogan never did that. He'd always take his win, and then when he's supposed to like return the favor, he wouldn't do it, and it ended up screwing people over, and then having like down the line fucking repercussions for other people and all this fucking shit. It was really annoying. That was like the big thing he did with Shawn Michaels. He did this a number of times. Like somebody would put him over, meaning they would lose to him in a big pay-per-view or something, and then he would not return the favor when asked to. And then some people he just straight hijacked and stole their thunder. So like WrestleMania 9, which I remember because that was one of the first pay-per-views I watched at the cable company, and it was like this big Caesar's Palace thing. You never forget it. But Bret Hart was supposed to beat Yokozuna, and it was really Bret Hart was like time for him to be the big guy. But instead, like, they had it so he I don't know, he lost to Yoko or whatever the fuck, and then Hulk Hogan came out and played the hero, and then Hulk Hogan basically told Vince McMahon he didn't think Brett was legitimate enough for him to lose to Brett, so he again refused to drop the title to Brett. Instead, did some fucked up ass angle where he lost the title to Yoko, and then he left the fucking company. So there's really, like, there's so fucking many of these stories. Him kicking out at WrestleMania 6 when he was supposed to put over the fucking Ultimate Warrior. If you watch the match, he fucking gets the count, and then he goes up and he makes. It's Hulk Hogan, yo. It's
For
just
his
Hulk
influence
Hogan.
and his various
So much Hulk
contractual
Hogan.
benefits to make sure that matches he was in always went the way he wanted them to go. He never had to lose to anybody he didn't want to lose to. He always, if he was going to win, he made sure he won in a way that made him look good. Everybody had to have his match. He didn't have to have anybody else's match. Like, it was, he used the fact that he was Hulk Hogan to benefit Hulk Hogan and Hulk Hogan's friends, right? And that's really about it.
Yeah. So when he talks about
he
like having his match and not having other people's matches, so all wrestlers kind of what we call their match. It's sort of like the style they want to work in their matches, and it allows them to like execute their signature moves, but also like tell the flow of the match the way they like it. If you watch wrestlers enough, you start to pick up the patterns and what they do well at in their match. Okay. So like, let's say me and AR are working together. What we're really supposed to do is get together in the locker room or when we're practicing or whatever and try to find a match that's like my match and his match. So AR is just like super fucking powerful, almighty dude, right? So he's like, oh, Jay, I want to get, my power moves in. When I get my hands on you, I'm going to I want to do this move and I'm going to do that. I want to throw you around a bunch and okay, cool. I'm going to fly for you, right? Meaning, man, when you go to body slam me, I'm going to fly halfway across the fucking ring so you look like He-Man, right? When you go to do a suplex or something, I'm going to bounce off the canvas like, oh my God, like you just fucking broke me in half, right? Because I know that's what he needs. He needs to be sold that power. Me, I'm like the bad guy. I'm going to like squirrel out the ring and like try to cheat. I need you to like chase me, right? Like just dumb shit. You work it out because you're both trying to get your shit in there. And so Hulk Hogan's whole thing was he had his shit that he had to get in there, and when the other person would try to do their shit, it even become like a meme in wrestling. People say that's not going to work for me, brother. That's what Hulk Hogan would say. Basically, he never wanted to make the other person look too good or didn't want to work the match towards getting their stuff in. It's like, nope, this is a Hulk Hogan match. I'm going over. I got to look good. This is what has to happen. And it made guys really upset because you got to remember, regardless of how you felt about him, working with Hulk Hogan, for most wrestlers, that was the biggest wrestling match of your career. And if it was, on a big platform like a pay-per-view or a big TV show or something like that, that was going to be probably the most money you ever made in your life. And that was going to be one of the biggest matches that people remembered you for. And literally when people go back and they look at it, they go, yeah, the money was good, but he made me look like dog shit. Yeah, the money was good, but he buried me. I was all downhill after that, right? Like this shit matters in the wrestling business, right? It matters that like, yeah, okay, you're gonna pin my shoulders to the match and win the championship, but you let me get my stuff in there. That way, I look good and I can still make money doing this.
That reputation as just kind of a shitty guy to work with unless you were in his orbit. And then outside the wrestling business, it turned out he was kind of a piece of shit too. He wasn't such a great husband. He wasn't such a great dad. And also, we found this out a few years ago when we got recorded evidence of it. He's like a big fat racist. Now, there were stories about Hogan being, not always so tolerant or not always so sensitive to black wrestlers or other wrestlers of color that he worked with. But it wasn't until we heard the recording of Hulk Hogan actually using the N-word in response to a guy that his daughter was dating Called
Hey,
someone
Logan,
that
good to
his
see you
daughter
on
was
Twitch.
dating the N-word, a black person that his daughter was dating, called him the N-word, said on tape, "You know what? I think I am a little racist. I think I'll admit that. I think I am kind of racist." Right?
Yo, this shit
And
was
then tried to
so
justify.
bad. So he was in a lawsuit. Actually, he was the victim. Like there was some shit released without his consent and all of this. It was a weird mess. He was like having sex with his like best friend's wife or whatever. And so when all this comes out, basically it's him. There was a recording of him saying this shit on record because it was like that was part of the evidence they had in this like case over these sex tapes or whatever the fuck. And so yes, he was actually the victim in that case, and I think he won the lawsuit. But we heard his racism on full display, and literally. Not only was he using the N-word and admitting to being a racist, he also said shit like, basically like, well, if she was gonna get with one of these, you know, at least get with one that's like a basketball player or whatever, right? Basically like, at least get you a rich one, right? Like it was like racism topped with cringe. You understand what I'm saying to you? Like if he had just left it at that, it would have been enough. And then he like added some cringe on top of the overt racism. Just horrible.
By saying like, "Oh, but it's my daughter," you know, that kind of thing. So he's a racist. We've known that for a long time, that he's a racist. And of course, when that came out, he apologized. "Oh, brother, I was in a bad place in my life, and that's not how I feel. And I love all my brothers in the wrestling community, black or white. It doesn't make a difference. And I love everybody." And you know, he tried to apologize for it, but it's like, hey, you said that shit in private, Hulk, when you didn't think anybody was listening. Okay, you know. So he's a racist. And also, another thing you need to know about Hulk Hogan is, and this is relative, even within the context of professional wrestling, and even within the context of professional wrestlers from his era, Hulk Hogan is a great big liar. There are websites devoted to the number of lies that Hulk Hogan has told about himself, about his career, about other people that he's worked with or not worked with. And some of these lies are the kinds of...
He's gonna like tell you some of these lies, y'all, but I want y'all to just imagine there's something so pathetic. I feel the same way about Trump. There's something so pathetic about these people who lie but really don't need to. Like if you're Hulk Hogan, you've done all the things. People literally can't imagine what the wrestling business would be like without Hulkamania. You're literally the most famous wrestler to ever live. You're rich. You've wrestled all over the world. You're a huge celebrity. You've been on all the shows. You've been in movies. You've got tons of money. Like just why do you need to lie about shit? Why do you just make shit up? You can literally be like, hey, remember that time I wrestled at Madison Square Garden? Hulk Hogan, which time you wrestled at Madison? Yeah, I wrestled at Madison Square Garden hundreds of times. It'd be like, oh, okay, that probably checks out, right? Like instead, he's just making shit up.
The things that, you know, wrestlers typically say, especially wrestlers from his generation, where kayfabe, you know, protecting the business, not admitting that wrestling was a work, was still a thing, and wrestlers were trained, you know, to kind of to always build themselves up, to always put themselves over, to make themselves sound like a big deal. So if you're talking to someone and you're mentioning a show that you were at, where, you know, whether it actually was this way or not, oh, sure, your match was the main event and the place was sold out. And every time you did something in the match, the place went crazy and then the fans jumped to their feet. Like that kind of exaggeration. Lots of wrestlers do that. And again, not just wrestlers, lots of people. I had just caught the biggest fish you've ever seen. Like that. A lot of wrestlers engage in that sort of thing. Not that unusual. Not going to specifically ding Hulk Hogan for that, but some of Hogan's lies and exaggerations are just deranged. And I invite you, if you're interested in this, if you're just hearing about this for the first time, and my wrestling fans watching, you probably know all this already.
It's like the number one lie. It's just so easy.
Don't know about this. I invite you to use the search engine of your choice and look Hulk Hogan lies, Hulk Hogan fabrications, Hulk Hogan made up bullshit, whatever phrase you want to use. you will discover multiple sources that list all of the absolutely demented things that Hulk Hogan has said over the years, some of which are related to wrestling, some of which aren't related to wrestling. Here are a few of my favorites. He claims that he was going to be the original bass player in Metallica. Not true. He claims Elvis Presley liked to come to his matches and watch him wrestle and was a big fan of his when Hogan wrestled in Memphis early in his career. Now, here's the problem with that. Hulk Hogan did wrestle in Memphis early in his career. That is true. Hulk Hogan had his first match after Elvis Presley was dead. So Elvis Presley never saw Hulk Hogan wrestle, ever, much less was a fan of his and went to the wrestling shows in Memphis to see Hulk Hogan wrestle. Hulk Hogan never wrestled a single match while Elvis Presley was alive. Hulk Hogan still has told this story to people on multiple occasions. Here's maybe my favorite. Hulk Hogan tells a story about how in 1992, he was wrestling on one of the biggest WWF shows of the 90s or ever, SummerSlam in 1992, that was held at Wembley Stadium in London, England. Drew a massive crowd. I think the crowd at Wembley for that SummerSlam was it was 66,000 people. It was a massive crowd, one of the great wrestling events of the decade, or any decade, really. Every wrestling fan remembers, or if you're too young to remember, you've seen or you know about SummerSlam 92, right? Huge deal. Hulk Hogan tells a story about how he was wrestling at SummerSlam 1992, and there was this kid, this little Hulkamaniac, a Make-A-Wish kid, terminally ill Make-A-Wish kid, who wanted to meet Hulk Hogan. And of course, Hulk Hogan met with the kid. To his credit, Hulk Hogan did, and probably still does occasionally, did a lot of meet and greets with terminally ill people, did a lot of Make-A-Wish stuff. Not as many as John Cena, but then again, nobody's done as many as John Cena. But Hulk Hogan did more than his share.
For those who don't know, John Cena holds the record for Make-A-Wish meetings or whatever. He's done, I don't know, actually. I know when he set the record, I think it was over 400. And I know he's probably continued to do a lot since then. So, matter of fact, that's one of the issues with John Cena's character was needing to find somebody else to fulfill that role. Somebody else, hey, if John Cena's not going to be the top guy anymore, who's going to be that top baby face that can do, and that was one of the things, who can do all the Make-A-Wish stuff. I think Cody Rhodes is that guy. Certainly he's in that spot right now, and we'll see how it goes.
Credit to him for that. Okay? Not a total piece of shit. But he tells this story about how he meets this Make-A-Wish kid who is in bad shape, right? And they have their little time together, and then it's time for Hogan to go out and have his match. He goes out, he has his match, and during the match,
hey, Randy,
he happens to, look over
I'm
in
doing
the front
all right.
row
I like
where
it.
the Make-A-Wish kid and his family were seated, and they're not there. And Hogan's like, oh, gee. So he finishes his match, goes backstage, and as he's, showering and getting dressed and whatever, he happens to mention to, one of the people backstage, he says, hey, what happened to the kid, the Make-A-Wish kid from earlier and his family? I noticed they were out there and then they were gone. What happened? And whoever Hogan was talking to said, oh, I'm sorry, I thought someone would have told you already. They had to go. He had an episode and an emergency, and he passed away. Sad story, right? It was so sad and had such an impact on Hulk Hogan that he and his manager, Jimmy Hart, and his manager on screen and also his real life friend and associate manager, Jimmy Hart, they were so moved by this, this Make-A-Wish kid coming to Wembley to meet Hulk Hogan and then dying at the event after meeting Hulk Hogan. They got together that night and they wrote a bunch of songs that were inspired by the Make-A-Wish kid. And one of the songs was called Another Hulkamaniac in Heaven, that was specifically inspired by this kid. And eventually all those songs were recorded.
Y'all, they released these songs. There was an album. There was music videos. You can YouTube. I'm sure YouTube has the music video. They were all in.
Now here's the problem with that story. That album does exist. And that song, Another Hulkamaniac in Heaven, does exist. Hulk Hogan did not wrestle at SummerSlam 1992. Hulk Hogan was not on that show in any capacity.
And y'all, you have to understand, like, the nature of claims like this. SummerSlam 92, literally, SummerSlam is the second biggest card of the year next to WrestleMania. The hierarchy of pay-per-views goes WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and then depending on who you ask, the Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble. Probably the Royal Rumble next, then the Survivor Series. How people remember this show? I remember this show. I remember watching it. I saw it on tape a bunch of times. I probably saw it on DVD a bunch of times. Now that we have the network, you can watch it. Like, it's just crazy. It's just like an insane thing to claim. And literally that is probably the most famous SummerSlam there ever was, because it's the SummerSlam that had Brett versus his brother-in-law, Davey Boy Smith, for the Intercontinental title, and you had Randy versus the Warrior in the main event. You had Money Inc. Against, I think, the Natural Disasters on that card. It was a great card.
Hulk Hogan was not there. That story about the Make-A-Wish kid who came to Wembley Stadium to see Hulk Hogan wrestle in 1992 and died during Hulk Hogan's match after meeting him is completely made up. Now ask yourself what kind of person and in what mental state a person would have to be as they just go through life on a daily basis to not only make up a story like that, but to make up a story like that that can be so easily fact-checked. Every wrestling fan who has seen SummerSlam 1992 knows Hulk Hogan was not there, knows Hulk Hogan was not on that show, knows, in fact, Hulk Hogan was not even active with the company at that point.
Not on the card at all.
I don't think Hulk Hogan was wrestling anywhere at that point. He may have taken some dates in Japan. Maybe, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know he was not actively wrestling for the WWF in August of 1992. He was not on SummerSlam. He was not in England for SummerSlam. He was not there. He completely made it up. What kind of human being not only makes up that story, but makes up that story that can be so easily proven false? I can watch that show anytime I want. That show is streaming on Peacock right now. I have a copy of that show on DVD. I remember watching that show live. You can look up the results of that show on a million different websites. It's a fact. Hulk Hogan was not there. He was not on the show. He was not in the building. He was not in the country. And he has told that story repeatedly. What kind of person does that? Apparently, and this is not a surprise and shouldn't be a surprise, apparently the same kind of person that endorses and votes for Donald Trump. And also the same kind of person who, as part of his fun beer bash, jokingly threatens to body slam and drop the big leg on Kamala Harris while mispronouncing her name and while also making racist jokes about her and saying she's Indian and then doing the racist howl thing for Native American quote-unquote Indians, right? That kind of person. What do I think about it? It's just Hulk Hogan being Hulk Hogan.
It's
just Terry Bollea, his real name. Being Terry Bollea, that's who he is. That's apparently who he's always been. His catchphrase is, "What you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you?" And all that stuff, talking at the RNC, endorsing Donald Trump, talking about how he's gonna body slam Kamala Harris at his beer bash. That's just Hulk Hogan doing what Hulk Hogan's gonna do, brother. That's all that is. 6'8", 303 pounds. I don't know if those are his actual dimensions, but that's how he was
No
always
way.
billed back in the old days, in his prime, his glory years. Hulk Hogan, 6'8", 303 pounds. And after I found out what he was really like, who he really was, the first thought I had was, damn, I didn't know they stacked shit that high.
All right, I love that. That's good. All right, I want to show y'all something, and then I'm gonna show y'all how it connects. So this is Wheatley, and this is Wheatley. Wheatley, it's an American vodka.
Vodka soda with Wheatley. This song right here is for the red, white, and blue. You got good taste, and you drink like it too. Wheatley, so good I drink it neatly. And the watch in Moscow always get the mule. Vodka this good is an American jewel. Wheatley, so good I drink it neatly. So pour a glass on the porch, get a little tanner. Let your taste buds sing the Star Spangled Banner. Wheatley, so good I drink it neatly. Wheatley, American vodka.
Now, I don't know if y'all know about this, but this is one of those MAGA, like, Americana right-wing brands, right? Y'all know how they want to make sure now that they can buy diapers that aren't woke and tampons that aren't woke and vodka that isn't woke and chocolate bars that aren't woke, right? So this is one of the, y'all know, like, they made them his and hers, like, anti-woke chocolate bars. So this is Wheatley vodka. And so anytime I hear that song,
soda with Wheatley. This song right here is for the red, white, and blue. You got good taste, and you drink like it too.
Whitely, so good I drink it nightly.
Watch in Moscow always get the mule. Vodka this good is an American jewel.
Whitely, so good I drink it nightly.
So pour a glass on the
Yeah. Now look, do y'all think there's any black people in this girl? Look at this. This is just that patriotic nonsense. Do y'all think where are the people of color at? All right, y'all, look. This is like this is like a where in the world is Carmen Sandiego thing. There it is, y'all. There he is. Soul brother number one. Okay, got a little braids here. He's off here in the back of this shot. Y'all, I swear to y'all, there are versions they cut him out of this frame. I ain't even messing with y'all. But look, that's it. And that's what it is. All right, y'all will see the connection in a second. Here we go.
Hulk Hogan.
You want to get crazy? You want me to throw more beers out? You want me to body slam somebody? You want me to body slam Kamala Harris? I said you want me to body slam.
At an event, Hulkster would ask his loyalists if they want him to body slam Kamala Harris. The music would come in as he asks, "Is Kamala a chameleon?"
I promise
follow
y'all
that
we
up
going
with,
somewhere
"Is
with
she
this."
Indian? After a mixture of yes and no answers, he holds up his hand and utters "how," which once again proves the following. Hulk Hogan is not only a bigot, but his IQ is low. He equates Harris's background being Indian when he said, "how?" A gesture referring, let's be clear, to Native Americans.
Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
If I were his campaign coordinator, I'd have just jumped off a bridge. Bruh, man could have just said no. Do you think Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because of her race? No. He'd have been good. Even as a motherfucker that hates that man so passionate, be like, well, he sure knew how to deal with that. Nope. They say never interrupt your opponent when they're making a mistake. And boy, was that a good. They just sat there. He's got a lot to say about this.
clear. What Hogan is doing is repeating Donald Trump's very same wording, but he does not have the brain power to understand
Yeah, you fuck all the way off.
But for his leader,
I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me. And you look, now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
Look at that. What a
that's
piece
not
of
the
shit.
test of whether or not people have rights in this country or not, whether or not they pass your look test.
And they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me.
Even about myself, if I were starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black because I really believe they do have an actual advantage today.
There's a history.
Bro, I am right here, brother. But I'm so glad Donald Trump said that. Where's Trump Tower? I guarantee y'all I am less than 15 miles from Trump Tower. I guarantee you I am less than 15 miles from Donald Trump. I have a bachelor's, a master's, and a dual PhD. Come on, Trump. Come on, Trump. Come get it. Come get it. Come get it, bro. Because you know what the reality of being a well-educated black in this country is? Housing discrimination, bro. Housing discrimination. Yeah, ain't nobody like, oh, you're a black guy with a PhD? Yeah, right this way. No, they're like, yeah, black guy? Yeah, no, you don't have a PhD. Yeah, I don't believe that. What is this, your faculty appointment letter? Nah, I don't believe that. That's fraud. Yeah, that's a scam. That's what being a well-educated black is like. It's like being told you're not actually a well-educated black, because that just can't be real. Okay? And he was basically the same motherfucker putting C's on colored people's fucking housing applications. He don't want none of this. He did not want none of this.
Per the Hollywood Reporter, Hogan made the remarks while speaking at an event in Ohio where he was promoting his new beer. Now, that beer brand, as we have covered previously, has also come under fire.
Hulk Hogan fired a brand ambassador because she was black. We already know how.
Gang, please tell me, if not for your racism, what brand she is not welcome to ambassador for you. She can ambassador all my brands, okay? All of them. So what's the problem? You hire a bunch of models to represent your beer company. We're gonna hire a bunch of pretty girls to make your beer look good. That's a pretty girl making your beer look good, bro. That's her job. She doing her gig. Nope. And this is what I'm telling you. You would think having such a strong reputation for racism would make you avoid doing blatantly racist shit. Nope.
Hulk Hogan feels about black women dating one of his children. So we already know that. That recording's out there. Influencer Essence, Janai, has made allegations against Hulk Hogan that she was fired from her position as a brand ambassador for Hogan's, quote, real American beer, end quote.
Boom. Y'all starting to feel the connection? Whitely, so good I drink it nightly. It's the same thing, y'all. It's literally the same thing. He calls his shit real American beer, okay, which they love. Why do they love that? Because of the double entendre. He can say, oh, it's because that was his theme song. His theme song, y'all know, is called Real American. It goes, I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. Too bad I'm a man. Y'all don't be fighting for my rights. What happened to that part? What happened to the fight for rights of every man, Hogan? What happened to that part? But no, for real. So that was his branding, right? So now they can have his beer and call it Real American Beer, and it can fit right into their MAGA, anti-woke branding, right? They love that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Real American beer. Y'all see where we go? This is a beer for real Americans, right? Y'all already know who are the real Americans? I don't know, but we fired the black girl who was representing our brand. Oh, okay. I think we know who the real Americans are. Who came up with this beer? Oh, Hulk Hogan? Yeah, we know exactly who the real Americans are. Okay, whitely, so good I drink it nightly. They told that girl, nah. You got way too much melanin to be in the front.
Business due to her being black. According to this influencer via her TikTok, her contract was supposed to last a week, but after promoting the brand for just one day on July 2nd, Hogan canceled the contract. Okay. So she revealed that she was replaced immediately by other brand ambassadors on July 3rd who were white. She also shared a text message from Hogan's team stating that Hogan wanted to cancel the events completely. Quote, her agent wrote, Essence, you didn't do anything wrong at all. In fact, I'm sure you did great. But this client wants us to cancel the rest of the event this week. I'm really sorry. So she replied,
what is she supposed to think? You didn't do anything wrong, but we're canceling.
What happened? Are they only taking me off of the events, or are they canceling the events completely? Her agent replied, all the rest of the events are canceled completely.
And then she see the other people putting them up the next day.
Janae posted a TikTok with the caption, Hulk Hogan, thanks for making it clear that you don't work with black brand ambassadors. Janae would take screenshots and post online the influencers who took her place. See if you could spot the difference. Hogan and his team saw the backlash and released a statement denying that Essence Janae was fired because of her race. They laid blame at the agency, not the beer brand. Meanwhile, comedian Paul Scheer would have fun with the Hulkster and his beer brand.
This crazy idea for a beer. I see the whole country being divided and diverse, but I get an idea for a beer.
This motherfucker said, I see the whole country being divided and diverse. Oh my God. When you say the quiet part out loud, see, Hulk is not schooled to this, y'all. Like he said, that man's IQ is low. Republicans, y'all are in for a rude awakening. Even wrestling companies don't want Hulk Hogan representing them anymore. Think about that. There's a fucking reason.
It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat. It doesn't matter what sex you are. It doesn't matter what race you are, where you're from, what you believe in. I've got a beer that's going to bring America back together, one beer at a time, and it's called Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer, brother.
Okay, sure. I mean, it's a broad statement. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, doesn't matter if you're Democrat, doesn't matter if you're straight, doesn't matter if you're gay, doesn't matter if you're a man or you're a woman.
We all want a good life. We want our family, our friends. We want to have the borders closed. We want.
Wait. He just snuck in. We want the border. He wants the borders closed.
We all just
sneak that one in.
We just want the border closed.
God.
And at the end of the day, we want God back in our schools and in our churches and in our lives.
Holy cow. We all want God back in our lives. I don't want to get killed at the gas pump. I just want mandatory prayer at the beginning of every school day. Oh my gosh. I mean, I really was. I was on board. I was like on board, and I thought it was maybe just a little short-sighted. Now, holy cow, that was. But
look, this is the Republicans too. This is who they are. Like, for real. Hulk Hogan has been canceled by wrestling companies and then canceled again and then canceled again because they'll cancel him and then a little bit of time will go by and they'll bring him back because he's, they got so much of the damn library tied up with this guy and he's so much of their fucking canon and their fucking lore. So they bring him back again and he'll do some other racist shit or say some crazy shit or some other controversy. He'll come, so they'll cancel him again. And they literally just got burned so many times. They just stopped doing that shit anymore. And there's always rumors, okay, maybe Hulk Hogan's gonna make an appearance. So maybe like once or twice a decade now, they'll roll Hulk Hogan out to say hi to the legends. But really, like, they can't. Like, and anytime they want to, it's really hard. Why? Because he'll come out to a chorus of boos. It'll literally ruin the show. Fans won't accept him. We don't accept him as wrestling fans. Like, he will be booed out of the fucking building. Now they might maybe bring him back in Tallahassee, Florida. Literally, like, you got to bring him back when y'all are in, the deep red Republican areas, and I think he probably gets booed there too. So it's just really funny how Republicans are always catching up They're always rolling out celebrities who are way past their prime, who it's already over for them. And what's really interesting about the Hulk Hogan thing is, like so many of their other celebrities, they're only known for terrible things. Yes, Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan, they not like us exactly, Pragmatic Crystal. And Kid Rock, again, we know who Kid Rock is now. Violent transphobe, total hypocrite, shooting Bud Light cans with an AR-15 and then serving Bud Light at his restaurant and literally being caught drinking Bud Light in the club because he just doesn't care. And that's who they put on. And so it's sort of like the Jordan Peterson and the Andrew Tate. It's like they literally find the bad guys who are literally only famous for being assholes. And then, all they got to do is wash themselves in the blood of the Lamb, say they find Jesus, and the Republicans are ready to give them like a whole new career. And so they do this because they get rejected by mainstream society. Nobody wants to fuck with them anymore. Nobody will stroke their ego. They've burnt all the fucking bridges. And I'm sorry, but you Republican Christian losers are just ready to take in all the worst people and give them platform and pretend like they're the biggest deal in the world. But they're famous bigots. That's all they are now. We know who they are, and there's a reason nobody else wants them. They're famous bigots. Why is it so hard for you guys to find people to put on for your convention, to put in your commercials, to put on your platforms that aren't bigots? Why is that so hard? It's almost like it's central to your fucking mission.
Here's the thing. For Hulkster, racism is not necessarily a thing of the past.
Hogan is heard on the tape, which was recorded in 2006, talking about his daughter Brooke, who he accused of sleeping with an African American. I mean, I am a racist to a point. But then, when it comes to nice people and whatever, then says, I mean, I'd rather, if she was going to I'd rather have her marry an 8-foot worth $100 million.
Yo, I tried to. I'm gonna have to go ahead and say that I myself dumbed it down a little earlier. I cleaned it up a little bit. I said he implied that if she was going to be with a black person, he wanted her to be with one that's a basketball player, somebody that was worth a lot of money. What he actually said was, I mean, I'd rather if she was gonna fuck some nigger, I'd rather have her marry an 8-foot tall nigger worth $100 million. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Like a basketball player. Guess we're all a little racist.
What we saw in that tape is exactly.
He said, "Guess we're all a little racist," and said it again, bro. You just can't be out here like that, bro. You just can't be out here like that.
21st century racism looks like. You may like black people and be friendly to black children, but you don't want your child to marry a black person.
And also, at a previous rally held in Boise, Idaho, the Hulkster would pose with a man who has literal schmozzy tattoos. If you want to know the meaning behind these symbols, check out our clip on demand. Fast forward to present day. As we know, Madam Vice President Harris's mother was from India and her father is Jamaican, but the Hulkster, after saying this stuff, had pulled the ultimate, "that was not me, that was the beer talking" line to his followers. But the damage, of course, was already done. His team has been contacted for comment, as you see here. They are yet to respond, hoping that it'll just all blow over. Via the New Republic, Hogan's comments are also further proof that all of MAGA seems to have a problem recognizing biracial people. During Trump's interview with the National Association of Black Journalists last month, the former prez stated that for years, Harris, quote, was Indian all the way, and then suddenly she made a turn and she became a black person. That is so incredibly stupid. In other news, it's another tough day for the keep politics out of sports crowd. Per the Columbus Dispatch, while most attendees were wearing wrestling memorabilia, some wore Make America Great Again hats. Along with Trump gear, they would ask the Hulkster to sign them, and he obliged. Let's also not forget.
You and Hulk were once good friends.
Yeah.
What's the likelihood of that ever being repaired?
Never. And he's the one that ratted me to Vince when I tried to unionize. I found that out under federal deposition when Vince was put under swore.
Weird.
And he didn't hesitate at all. I told my lawyer the story, and in deposition you could ask about anything. And so I wanted to know who ratted me in the locker room, because there were no agents, no one from the office was in there when I did it. So it had to be one of the boys. And when my attorney said, Mr. McMahon, has there ever been a union in wrestling? And Vince said, no.
Hey,
so
Robin.
has anyone ever tried to? And Vince said, well, I think Jesse Ventura spouted his mouth off about it once before. And my attorney said, did you hear Mr. Ventura? No. Well, then how do you know he did? With no hesitation, Vince went, Hulk Hogan told me. And I didn't show any emotion, but I almost tipped over in the chair because he was my friend.
Like Trump, he is a...
Can you imagine hearing in a deposition that when you tried to unionize your boys, your friend stooged you over? And it being the top guy. The top guy. To say Hulk Hogan was in a different tax bracket than most wrestlers is a fucking understatement. He had extra zeros in his contracts compared to what most wrestlers were making. That is insane. To be the top guy and be the one to cut off any possibility of unionizing. And you know what? Like, I keep trying to tell people, like, these guys don't know how to be rich. Like, you can be rich and, like, not be an asshole. Do you know what his legacy would be if Hulk Hogan was the top guy and not an asshole? If Hulk Hogan was, like, a top guy and the reason wrestlers now have unions? Like PC said, they not like us, yo.
Union buster. As Jesse the Body Ventura explained to Graham Bensinger some years ago. Of course, Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota, a libertarian,
hey, Jake,
has endorsed the Harris Walz ticket and has spoke highly rather of the governor, Tim Walz. Here's another thing I found. There were some reports that Hogan, along with fellow RNC speaker, influencer Amber Rose, and one half of Ray Shremmen, Sway Lee, were involved in some crypto schemes. There is somewhat of a pattern here.
Oh, this is another weird thing, is like, what is up with Republicans and crypto scams? And scams in general. It's like they're all supposed to be such devout religious people, yet they keep getting involved in like scamming and conning their people and bad PR. Like, they're all a nightmare. And this is kind of what I was getting at when I showed that little clip this morning. When I said, or it's not this morning, but at the start of the stream, when I said, whose fault is that? Like, when they keep telling us, like, oh, it's such a shame, everybody hates Jesus and they hate the gospel because the faults of man and people keep fucking up the mission. Yeah, y'all keep fucking it up. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
Do know that the biz bros and the tech bros are in on Donald Trump. So will they potentially need his help if there is to be litigation down the line involving them? Maybe. Are they trading their endorsements for help down the line? Maybe. There is a pattern there as well, as we have seen from some other celebrities. What I will say is this.
They love a great grift.
Hulk Hogan saying this, doing this, uttering these lines shows that he has not learned from those tapes that came out in the Gawker lawsuit. And again, if you want to know more about the Gawker lawsuit, check out our videos on demand. But what it shows to me is that you can't teach this old dog new tricks. And he is going to be a loyalist through and through, because the guy who bankrolled his entire lawsuit against Gawker, Peter Thiel, is also in for Donald Trump, in for J.D. Vance. They know each other well. They have an affinity for one another, and they also believe that democracy should not really be a thing. Some of their ideas are insane, but they share them. And that is why Teal, who previously said he doesn't get political, doesn't want to be political, has thrown wads of cash behind J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, which also, very quickly, shows another wrinkle to this, which is Michael Flynn is really peeved at the Vance pick because he thought that he could potentially be the VP pick. Do I think that? No. But it is very interesting to see this internal civil war in MAGA world where the Fuenteses and the Michael Flynns are really upset at the Vance pick. Meanwhile, Trump knows where his bread is buttered, and that is through his donors, which he badly needs at this point in time, especially when they are down in the polls. Peter Thiel is one of many who will flood cash into their campaign, and I do believe it was a trade-off there, where Trump is going to pick Vance.
It's very interesting to think about the intersection of their particular prejudices in climate change and how, yeah, it will always, like all shit flows downhill and will affect marginalized people the most. Listen, y'all, Whiteley so good I drink it nightly. That's what I'm saying. That's what this is all about. Like he's so blatantly racist, and this is like the whole MAGA thing. My theory is always this: power is incredibly attractive to people, either because they want it or they need it. Like by want it, it's just like, it's something a lot of people can't resist. But by need it, I mean people who are washed up and they're not hot anymore. They're not getting bookings. They're not earning the type of income they used to. They don't have the same type of following that they used to. And there's no path for them with reasonable people anymore. Reasonable people are done with them. We wash our hands of them. We're done. No, we're not Hulk Hogan fans. And I think that's how most wrestling fans are. We're done with Hulk Hogan. We don't really want to see him come back. We don't care about, them helping him, trying to clean up his reputation. Literally, we give zero fucks about him finding Jesus. None. Absolutely none. Why? Because y'all always find Jesus when y'all need some reputation rehab. You always do. You always do. And it's very clear, Jesus doesn't change your hearts, doesn't transform your lives. Y'all be the same bigots you were before. You find Jesus, and then you be like, whoops, I just stumbled into Jesus that transformed my life. And turns out this book supports my bigotry. Oh, what a surprising interpretation that is. So go MAGA, right? They become MAGA. They know even reasonable Republicans and conservatives don't want anything to do with them. Most major brands and companies aren't going to want to deal with them. That's why you go start your own anti-woke brand. It becomes a whole thing. They literally are trying to create their own little ecosystem of their own stuff, and they have to, because if you're Bud Light, if you're Corona, if you're any of the major beverages that people really drink, why would you want to do any deals, any sort of promotions with controversial figures who are just known bigots at this point? You don't. It's not a good investment. It's just a way to generate bad press that you don't need. But MAGA's always happy to have you, always happy to give you a platform, always happy to pursue new business ventures. So, that's they get into the grift. All right, y'all, this was super fun. PC's got the right idea. Come hang out and gather. Do please join our Discord if you're not there. That's the best way to stay in touch with us offline. Gather's the best way to hang out and interact in real time with everybody. It's our virtual headquarters. Don't forget, Gather is a virtual office. So if you're somebody that works from home or, works in an office and you want to just have some company and hang out while you work, if you're Robin and you're driving along the highway, you know, you're doing your service, whatever you do, you come hang out and gather. And we're, of course, there socializing at the end of the day and things. So we're going to go hang out and gather for the after show or whatever, and I'm going to get something to eat. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Been a fun stream. Got to go over a lot of stuff I wanted to talk to y'all about. So really appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out.